Today we are going to be talking about Man and The Wasp and Sicario, Day of the Soldado. So stay tuned. Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. Everybody, I'm here with Joel Antonio Banderas Cunningham.
I'm laughing not because it is funny, but I also mine for you was Mattonio Banderas.
Oh,
So,
I like it.
Totally just
Well done.
copied each other, I guess.
Yeah, kind of.
I guess since you went first, that means that I'm the one that copied you. But
Yes.
I did think about that.
I did trademark it, and you owe me $50.
I don't have $50.
Okay,
Matt. Can I borrow $50?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
I'll give you an IOU. Anyways, welcome to The Real Review, guys. We're happy to have you with us if you're tuning in for the first time. Just to kind of give you a breakdown of how this works, Joel and I see things a little bit differently when it comes to film. We actually got into a really heated debate the other day a little bit about A Quiet Place. And maybe we'll talk about that some other time.
Are you bringing that back up now?
I am bringing it back up.
I finally got a chance to see it.
Yes. So anyways.
Which I like the movie. I just felt like one aspect of it was not what I would figure it would be.
Sure. Anyways, so Joel, he can get really analytical and kind of pick through a lot of the details and the minutia, as you might say, as well.
That's good. Yeah.
And might slightly lean towards the negative side of things. Not necessarily all the time, just potentially, because picky sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I am a little bit more like, I can overlook some things a little bit more emotional. Like, oh, that was fun. It's okay if it didn't make sense. I was still having an enjoyable time.
It's the experience for you.
Right. It's
whereas for me, it's the production and the creation.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's not to say that we can't dabble in each other's, areas,
For sure.
Yeah.
We cross over.
Yeah. We could have crossover events just like the CW.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm really waiting for the day that you will just bust into a super analytical diatribe on one of these films that you see.
The lighting was awful, and the way that the frame lined up
waiting for it.
Perpendicular to the desk was not obtuse.
Oh, come on now.
To the lights.
I don't get that particular.
I know, I'm totally
somewhat.
What if I did, though? That'd be crazy.
I would love it.
It's all good. But yeah, anyway, so then we kind of blended too, and you can get a good perspective. We kind of talk it out a little bit, and that's how the show works. But if you're tuning in for the first time, you don't know really what's happening, Joel, why don't you tell everybody how they can get connected to The Real Review?
Sure. There's a couple ways you can get connected to The Real Review. I would first of all suggest you check us out on Facebook, which is facebook.com/Real Review Media, where tons of stuff is going up. We're always posting things. Matt does a great job, I like to say, because I don't do very much with that. We also have our website. I'm owning it. I don't do enough posting. I'm owning it. RealReviewMedia.com. You can get connected with us on there. We've also both got Twitter and Instagram, which are both at Real Review Media. And then, as always, now we have our email. Now, I don't know why I said now, but we have our email, and we would love to hear your thoughts and perspectives on anything that we talked about. Love to hear your thoughts and perspectives on A Quiet Place. What you thought of it.
This is like my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah.
So far.
Go ahead. Send us an email, realreviewmedia@gmail.com.
Yes. Do that.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, let's dive right into this. We had one major opening this weekend.
Yep.
And that is the highly anticipated sequel to Ant-Man, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp. But let me break it down for you real quick. So here's a synopsis that they have for us. As Scott Lang balances being both a superhero and a father, Hope Van Dyne and Dr. Hank Pym present an urgent new mission that finds the Ant-Man fighting alongside the Wasp to uncover secrets from their past. Directed by Peyton Reed, who also did the first one. And it also stars our familiar faces of Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly, Michael Pena, Walton Goggins, Bobby Cannavale, Val, Judy Greer, T.I., David, I think, Hannah. Oh, yeah, I want to give a shout out to Hannah John Kamen as well. So,
Lawrence Fishburne.
Fishburne, yes. Michael Douglas, right.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes. By the way, I want to talk about that too. That's not really spoiler. Anyways, we'll get into that.
I did want to, one minor spoiler. I did want to say, it's not really a spoiler, but you did mention something in one of our previous recordings that Michael Pena was going to do.
Right.
And he totally did it in this movie.
And here's the thing. I will say this. He did it, and it was really great.
It was, yeah.
It was really, really great, but they only did it one time.
Yeah, I'm afraid that it's going to get old. It's
Really?
going to become one of those things
Maybe-
where it's like a Peñaism.
It was a really long one though. It was like a
was.
really long
Yeah.
like montage. Anyways,
Yeah.
it was a really good thing. It's not really a spoiler because he did it a couple
Spoiler
times.
light, yeah,
It's
and I'm
like-
not talking about what they're doing, so hopefully
Right,
it doesn't spoil anything. Yeah,
But overall, I liked the movie. I didn't think it was great.
yeah,
But I did enjoy myself. I found enjoyment in it. And there were some emotional ties that I really thought were great. They didn't pull me in completely, but I appreciated that they were there in the film, and that was mainly between Paul Rudd and his daughter.
Cassie, yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed her character. Some of the strange insight that she brought into different circumstances. I thought I really, really liked that. And that was just kind of my overall. I liked it.
Yeah.
Didn't love it. Something happens in the mid-credits scene that I've been calling from the rooftops forever. It seems like, well, forever meaning just since Infinity War came out.
Yeah.
And then,
Which is still just as shocking,
yeah,
even at this stage of Marvel Universe.
Right.
It's crazy.
yeah, for sure. Overall thoughts?
I think similar to you.
Okay.
It didn't feel like this was an unnecessary sequel, but it certainly didn't register as strongly, I think, as the first outing.
Yeah.
It very much felt like they were just kind of like, well, what's the next step in the story?
Mm-hmm.
But it hit kind of. I think the main issue that I had was, and I hate to say this because it's so like me, but it just didn't.
So you.
Didn't feel like there was any like heavy stakes that were there. It kind of felt like they were putting a few things in place that could have been resolved by some simple conversations,
Right.
and some. And there was a lot of situational irony in a sense.
Right.
Like this just happened to take place right at this moment, where if it had happened like 4 days later, then half of the issues of the
Yeah.
film, in a sense, would have been fine.
Yeah.
You know, and if some of the characters that were supposed to be antagonists had literally just talked to each other,
Right. Exactly.
and just sat down because they're all good people and said like, "Hey, this is this," they would have been like, "Oh, okay, like then that's fine," you know?
Yeah. There was less of a presence of a villain.
Yeah.
It was, and like you said with the antagonist, it was more of like kind of like a coworker you don't get along with, as a,
Yeah.
if you just would have like talked with them about it and
Right.
could have cleared up half the issues in the movie.
I agreed. And I think what they were going for, and they even talked about that in the description, is it's that idea of the shadows of the past
Right.
coming back to haunt you later in life.
Right.
And kind of dealing with that, both in what they did with the technology that created bad situations, even though they had good plans for it. But then additionally, the relationships and how mishandled relationships can eventually kind of... And each character sort of had, in a sense, their own minor little story arc with that. I mean,
Yeah.
Evangeline Lilly and Paul are dealing kind of with like their minor past issues.
Right.
And then, Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas, they're dealing with like things that brought up in their past. And so that was interesting.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough to compel me towards really feeling like the stakes were weighty enough. Because I think the characters, I don't know, there wasn't enough there to latch onto, which each of the individual characters that in the drama that was presented that really made me feel like, wow, I really hope this happens.
But that mid-credit scene.
Yeah, the mid-credit scene. Yeah, I mean, when you see something as compelling as that take place in a Marvel movie, in prior Marvel movies, I should say, then you're like, okay, well, I know Marvel can do serious dramatic tension and have real stakes involved. And so, and I get it, they're trying to just kind of take a step back and go simpler. It's more of like a heist kind of film.
Yeah, it's simple. It's like, and I think the point of it was, you just came off of Avengers. You don't want it to be like the fate of the universe.
Right.
And this is more of like the fate of, being in prison for 20 years or not.
Right. It was also very predictable.
Right.
And I think that kind of added into the stakes not being there because
Sure.
it's like, oh,
It
I know
was-
you're going to do that and you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the humor wasn't as...
I have thoughts on the humor. Let me start with some positives real quick because I did think it was funny. The scene with Michael Pena and there's one scene with Michael Pena where he does his like shtick, I guess.
Yeah.
That was awesome. It was awesome. It was hilarious, and the way that they filmed it and the way that all the actors like did their parts to help that, it was so good.
Yeah.
Also, The de-aging technology in this movie is incredible.
I agree with that.
It was incredible.
It was. There was only like one or two moments with it that I'm like, okay, a little bit, but I'm like 95% of it was just rock solid.
I was like, dang, they're getting so good at this,
yeah,
man.
it's kind of scary.
Yeah. I was like, they can do this with anybody.
Brought this up the other day, and I don't think it's unrealistic. I mean, at some point, it's going to get to the point where when celebrities start to get to a certain age, they'll just like take a digital copy of them,
right,
and then just present them in films moving forward with their digital bodies and like their voiceover.
Basically, doing a better job of what they did in Rogue One.
Yeah, basically, because Rogue One was, it's still like with some things, but that was rock solid.
Yeah, the de-aging was incredible in this, and they've gotten progressively better. I think they started it with, was it the Tony Stark in Civil War? Was that the first one?
Believe so.
And then after that, it was Guardians with Kurt Russell. There was another one in there too somewhere.
I think there was. The first I recall was definitely...
Ant-Man. It was Ant-Man. It was Michael Douglas and Ant-Man, the first one.
Really?
Yeah, they had him like walk in and meet with Howard Stark and stuff, and he was all young.
Oh,
they did Ant-Man. They did it in Civil War with Tony Stark.
For some reason, I was thinking Iron Man 2 was the one they did the flashback. No, it was Iron Man 3. They did the... Okay, yeah, you're right. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's all good.
We'll have to go back and look. It's not like we're keeping a record of like...
Kurt Russell in Guardians 2. And then this one was... I feel like they just keep getting better and better.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I thought that was a highlight. And I thought it was just an overall just kind of a fun outing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I enjoyed myself at the movie theater, and that was really it. I wasn't... And that was the thing there. I was thinking, okay, well, this is definitely a change of pace from the, universe, being, threatened kind of a thing that we got in the last one. But at the same time, you see how it kind of ties into everything. It's definitely not a huge, strong tie-in until later. But with the movie as a whole, I thought it was fine. I enjoyed parts of it. And I want to hear your kind of big positives before I kind of dive into something I thought was negative. I
still really like the acting.
Yeah.
I think most of the acting felt pretty rock solid. I loved Bobby Cannavale, even though he's very minorly in the film.
Yeah, so he did this huge shift from 1 to 2.
Right. He's like...
He loves him now.
Yeah, he's Mr. Lovely, loves everybody. Like, oh my gosh, I love you so. Yeah. And I don't know if that's because of his Ant-Man persona or something, but I loved that. Yeah. I thought that was great.
It's fun.
Jimmy Woo, who played Randall Park, he's kind of like an FBI agent. He had an interesting style. His character was interesting, I think, because they did something with him that was a little bit different than what I was expecting.
Randall Park played Jimmy Woo.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, Jimmy Woo's the character. He kind of was like Mr. Friendly, nice FBI agent. Yeah. But not a very good one.
Yeah.
And it was just weird. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And just because it was different than I think I've seen a character like his be before in the movie, in a Marvel movie as well. I think that was kind of the best of the movie for me was some of the characterization, even with our new antagonist of sorts, Ghost.
Yeah.
Played by Hannah John Keeman. Keeman. She had a bit of a weird style.
Yeah.
There was a weird moment too with her and Paul Rudd's character, Scott, when they first encounter each other. Yeah. And it was is there going to be a weird romance starting up here? I don't know if you caught that
right.
like I did, but that was kind of odd. But it just felt okay, well, they're trying to maybe throw in some different slight curveballs with some issues there. And I enjoyed that because it made it feel refreshing, a bit different. The action sequences were fine.
Yeah, I liked the action too,
I thought
actually.
There were some questions in regards to Ghost and what her abilities curtailed and kind of how they were working and how they weren't working for me at times. It doesn't make sense that if her literal persona is that, her power is that she can kind of phase through things and people can't touch her at times, how she can still stand on the ground when people are phasing.
Oh, she doesn't just fall through the earth?
Right, because gravity, that's the thing. It's so stuff like that doesn't make sense. And with inertia, and I get it, it's it's not going to make sense, but you start questioning it.
Yeah.
The other thing that didn't make a lot of sense was okay, well, when they shrink, they keep the same strength and ability as they had when they were big, that's their power.
Yeah.
But then how come when they get bigger, they get more strength and more power? That didn't make a lot of sense to me. So, again, I know I'm nitpicking here, but things started to break down in that level to me where I start. Okay. Maybe I just nitpick too much sometimes with some of this stuff, but I thought that was fine. The overall plot progression was fun, but the action was good.
Yeah.
Is what I kind of
Action was
where I
good.
was going with that. It was just predictable.
Yeah, for sure. So before I move on to this, I will say there is one scene. I thought Paul Rudd was great. He's very Paul Ruddy.
Yeah.
And which is what Ant-Man is now.
Yeah.
That's who he is, and I think he just continued it great. There's one scene with him where he's like working on a computer and stuff is happening, and it's really, really good.
Right. He seemed a little too inept in this one, I think, to me.
Well, I don't know. He doesn't know the stuff they're talking about. I mean, it's
Right.
not ruining anything, but there's a scene where it's like, you guys just say quantum in front of everything?
That
Like,
was funny. Yes, his humor was fine.
Yeah.
I just felt like he kind of made some stupid mistakes in this one. I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
really?
Yeah.
You're not even going to think about that? I can't get into details.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Other than that, I like the action. I will say, and this is where I'll kind of get in the negatives. I felt like it took a while for the movie to find what it was doing.
Right.
I was like, what is happening? And I went with my mom, and we were trying to, and I was explaining to her, I was like, I felt like they did this like, quote unquote, what you would see in a villain reveal moment in the first 30 minutes of the movie or 40 minutes of the movie. And I was like, this is weird. This feels like the end of a movie, but it's not the end of the movie. Anyways, and it just felt like it was trying to find its footing. I thought the second half actually flowed better than the first half. Just overall. Other than that, I like the humor. I think the problem with this movie, and it's not even necessarily a problem, this might be nitpicky on my part, is I thought there was too many moments that they're going for humor. I thought they, Marvel...
That weren't funny to me.
Right. They walk this fine line. Most of the time they nail it. Most of the time Marvel nails it, where they have the right amount of humor. But this time I felt like they maybe just threw in a few extra jokes. I was like, I didn't need to be there. Let the weight of that moment, the seriousness of that moment sink in before you have somebody throw a joke out,
Yeah.
There was a couple of those moments like, you're trying for laughs right now. I don't, this kind of thing. It's kind of how I felt in The Last Jedi. I didn't feel like a lot of the humor worked in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I did like some of it, but I felt like they just kind of overstepped into trying to make it funny.
Yeah. I think would have helped me to kind of maybe connecting with the story a little bit better. I would have pretty much cut out most of the FBI type related aspects. It felt very chalked on, like they were just trying to fill out the script with additional story elements. And you could have had a decently good real antagonist with Walton Goggins. Yeah. But he ended up becoming more of like a C-plot type antagonist.
Yep.
So then you could have made it, to me, it would have been much more interesting to see kind of that pull, that good, that bad thing with Ghost, because that could have really messed with her head.
Yeah.
The fact that she's unable to like really connect with stuff, that like the phasing could have really done a number on her head and turned her into more of like a character that's suffering that you can connect to because you understand what their actions are, even though they're bad actions. Whereas then Walton Goggins could just be legit, like, I'm just the antagonist.
And I'm bummed out about him because I feel like Walton Goggins is an amazing actor, especially if you've seen Justified. He's incredible in that show. And a lot of other things too that he's in, like Vice Principals, those kinds of things. And he's amazing, but he keeps getting these movie roles that are like surfacey, bad guys,
Agreed.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of chops for like a really deep scene, like a deep character in some movie that I would love to see some dramatic type film in. I don't know why, but I could see him in a lot of. There's like 3 or 4 movies. I'm like, I really could have seen him in that. Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah. It's all right.
So yeah, I thought like T.I. and David Dashmalchian, who are Kurt and Dave, they're kind of like the
Baba Yaga.
They're like the sidekicks. It was almost like they became the foil for the bad mafia-related guys, and it was like...
Oh, I will say that. I thought they overused Michael Pena and his crew.
Agreed.
Yeah. So that was the thing. And I think that's where the humor was trying to come in too much. I think he overused them a little bit.
It was like a lot of stuff going on without any of it really feeling significant.
Right.
And that's why I kind of just felt like,
So here's the thing. I like the movie. That was a nitpicky thing. I think it could have maybe nudged it up a little bit further as far as just how much I liked it in general. But other than that, I thought it was a fine movie. Do you want to score it? Do you have a score for it?
I do. I'm giving it a 79.
Okay.
C+.
I'm giving it 81.
Okay. I was on the cusp of 80.
Yeah.
And then there was just a couple things that I'm just...
Yeah.
No, knocked it down to the C range, which is tough for Marvel.
Yeah.
Usually they're a little higher. So I'd say my average for most Marvels is kind of like B range.
Yeah. I've yet, I don't think, unless I were to go back and retroactively like review some of their older movies like The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things, and maybe that'd be in the C range for me. But
yeah, that was
yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Anyways, there's not really a lot to spoil. Let's spoil it. I'm gonna spoil one thing real quick.
Okay, we're gonna do countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you don't want to listen, we're gonna do spoilers right now. Turn it off, pause it, skip ahead, whatever. Okay, here we go. So post credits.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
It tied in perfectly. So coming out of, just in case you haven't seen it and you want to know what the spoilers are and you still have this on and you haven't paused it.
Yeah.
Basically, Ant-Man's in the quantum realm. He's talking to him on the little walkie-talkie, and that's like Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, Evangeline Lilly. They're all standing out there like, all right, we're going to pull you out. And then all of a sudden the mic or the line goes dead.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man's stuck in the quantum realm.
Right.
And then the camera comes back out and you see them falling to ashes because Thanos just did his snap.
They get you again.
I know.
I was like, oh, wow. I will say that doesn't really explain where he was during the events. I mean, it explains that maybe he was like under FBI house arrest and doing all this like side stuff. But them disappearing happened after the events of the first movie, the events of this movie.
Yeah, but how long after? That's the only thing I don't know.
I don't know either. They don't really explain it, but it seemed like at least a couple days had gone by.
Right.
It seemed like enough time for at least them to like, hey, Ant-Man, we got this really bad guy.
Right.
Mr. Thanos.
They must have thought he was still under house arrest. They had mentioned that he was
Yeah.
taking time off or whatever.
Right.
But
I like the scene. I'm just saying it still doesn't really explain where he was during the events.
Anyway, it happened and I go, I knew it. I said it out loud in the theater. I was like, I knew it.
Yeah.
And
you did call it.
I've been saying after the Avengers, I'd be like, I bet there's going to be a post-credit scene in the new Ant-Man movie that comes out where, some of the characters just dissolve and you're like, oh, dang. And I was like, yeah. Anyway, so I'm super pumped about that. Other than that, what I was talking about, the de-aging technology, Michelle Pfeiffer looked just like young Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. That was pretty incredible. Michael Douglas still looked pretty good. They didn't do a lot. Like he wasn't talking though. But the thing about it is it was a super close up shots.
Right. And usually that's where it falls apart for
Right.
me when they get that tight shot. But yeah, it stayed rock solid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to go through and nitpick it, but I think they're going to get better and better at it. It's kind of scary.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
In the next like 5 to 10 years, you're not even going to know.
Yeah. And I will say, final little thing here. I think that Abby Ryder Fortson, his daughter Cassie, I think she did a really good job in it. She toted that line for me, which I never like, which is like the young kid acting like an adult.
Yeah.
And she kind of was like, she's still a kid. She's just a really smart kid. So
Right.
I thought they did a good job with that. So,
yeah. I like her personality too, especially in that first one, like when he gives her that like really ugly like rabbit doll or whatever. And she's like, it's so ugly.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, like one of my favorite scenes is actually with Jimmy Woo, and he's explaining to her why her dad's under house arrest.
Right.
And her face just kind of like, at first you think that she's going to like throw back at him like, I get this. Like she's going to like be sarcastic with him. But then he goes legitimately into like too far, and you can tell she's just like, you lost me, kid.
At the same time, as a clever way to do some exposition for those people that weren't familiar.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
But cool. So let us know what you thought about Ant-Man and the Wasp, if you enjoyed it, if you're ready for Captain Marvel, which just wrapped shooting the other day.
Marvel,
that comes out in...
She's our hero.
Maybe. Yeah. It comes out March 8th, I think, Captain Marvel does. So, yeah, let us know what you thought about that. Email us. But, yeah, let's dive into... I have one more movie to talk about.
Yes. You're going to talk about it. I don't have anything to say.
You have nothing to say about it. I'm going to talk about it, and you can ask me questions if that's the case.
Sure.
So I want to talk about Sicario 2, which is really not called Sicario 2. It's called Sicario Day of the Soldado. Mm-hmm. It's a continuation of the Sicario movie that came out 2 years ago? 2 years ago.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes. And again, so this one, the plot synopsis is an idealistic FBI agent is enlisted by a government task force to aid in the escalating war against drugs in the border area between the U.S. and Mexico. Again, Benicio del Toro, Josh Brolin as Bill Monaire, Jeffrey Donovan, Catherine Keener, to name a few. Matthew Modine's in it as well, and then Manuel Garcia. But just some background. The first Sicario came out. I had... there was a lot of like really positive buzz around that movie.
Yeah.
And it was just a huge deal, and people loved it. And I went to the theater. I don't know if I got caught up in the hype. I thought the acting was great, but I didn't think the movie as a whole was like super amazing like people thought. I thought it was okay.
Okay.
I liked it.
Yeah.
But And I think the best thing it had going for it was Deakins was cinematography, and it just looked awesome.
Yeah.
If he's attached, it looked awesome. It looked great. And Del Toro, Brolin, Emily Blunt, she was in the first one. They all did this amazing acting job. I thought it started out really strong, some really tense moments. It just didn't land for me entirely. And so coming into this one, I was kind of like, let's see what this is about. So I was already on the minority side of people being like, you didn't like Sicario? I'm like, yeah, I thought it was okay, And so this one, I kind of came in like, let's see what this one's about. I will say that this movie right here, it started off, I liked it more than the first Sicario. Like in the first half, maybe, a little bit more, maybe first 2/3, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I like this. And I understood what was going on. You have Josh Brolin doing his thing and kind of his undercover, like off the grid, like work that he does, kind of like what he did in the first Sicario. And Benicio del Toro, he's in this movie a lot more. And I did like him, but I don't know what happened. It felt like the end, they wanted the last third, less than that, let's say maybe the last quarter of the movie. It felt like they were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to try and make this thing a franchise.
And I was
like, and that specifically the last like 5 minutes, but
they tried to expand the world out a little bit.
They did a little bit, but beyond that, they tried to like give like growth to characters that are in the movie, especially this boy that kind of, you're like, what is this kid doing here? And then they're trying to like tie it into Benicio's character in this weird way. And I don't know.
Was he a clone?
No, could have been.
Spoilers for another movie we just talked about.
Right. So, not Man and The Wasp.
No.
So overall, I thought it was okay. I don't know. It started off like, I was like, I'm going to give this thing an A-. Like I was like, this thing is good. I liked it. I'm into it. The action was cool. Brolin's killing it. So is Benicio. I was really into it. And there's that scene that they show in all the trailers that's super intense, and it was just as intense where he's got the gun, he's pointing it at some dude on the ground, and he takes his finger and he's just like pulling the trigger like rapid fire like this. And I was like, dang, like that's really gnarly.
Yeah.
And that was all really intense, and I was like, all right, this is cool. And then it just kind of got weird at the end. Like they didn't know what to do, or they're like, you know what? I want to try and make this into a trilogy, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So if the end kind of brought it down for me, and I didn't vibe.
Okay.
I didn't vibe. I don't know. Did you see the first Sicario?
Nope.
You didn't see the first Sicario? Okay.
Nope. I haven't seen either.
Gotcha.
I heard good things, just like you said, though, for the first one, and wanted to check it out at some point.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways,
that's one of the main reasons I didn't go see this one, because I haven't had a chance to see the first.
So it's not a bad movie. In fact, I think it's really solid for the first half, 2/3 ish of the movie, and then just kind of falls apart at the end. If I had to rate it, I'd probably give it a 77, 78 C+ range.
Okay.
But I think it could have done a lot better if they maybe would have just kind of, because the first one kind of ended on a really dark note. They kind of tried to end it with like, oh man, what's going to happen next, kind of a thing. And it didn't, this world, Sicario, the first Sicario never was like, hey, we need a bunch of these movies, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And
so they left all their cards on the table. They're kind of like, we're going to just throw everything we want into this for the first one.
Right.
Well, whereas this one, it felt more open-ended to like, hey, let's do more.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Almost like a passing of the baton kind of a
Which
thing.
is never great to me.
Right.
I mean, it really just, you need to make a film stand on its own merits. Yeah. First and foremost.
So I was kind of like, that's weird. But anyways, I thought it was okay. If you guys saw it, I think maybe let me know if you liked it. If you liked the first Sicario, again, I was in the minority, so I might just be skewed. It might be a lot better movie than I'd initially thought, but I didn't care. I thought it was okay. I thought the first Sicario was okay, but this one I thought was okay as well. The first Sicario, production value, way better than this one though. So yeah, let us know what you guys thought about that. If you have any questions, send it to the email realreviewmedia@gmail.com. Let us know. Also, again, connect with us on our social media, facebook.com at Real Review Media. Same with Instagram and Twitter at Real Review Media. Facebook.com / Real Review. I can't get it right, Joel. / Real Review Media.
I believe in you.
Thank you. I believe. Okay. So, Joel, is there anything else that you feel like It's crucial.
I think that is all,
That is all?
Mr. Matonio Banderas.
Matonio Benders. I like that. You can call me that forever. Okay. Anyways, so that's nothing else to add.
I can be your hero, baby. That's right.
We're gonna do a whole episode where Joel sings that song to you guys. It's gonna be amazing.
It's when we lose all our listeners.
Yes, exactly. It's all good though. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been awesome hanging out with you. Anything else, Joel?
Nope. And that's it.
All right. It's been real.
It's been real.